Welcome to the Joy of Connecting, where modern professionals share stories of meaningful connection and how it can increase business success, unlock career growth, and create personal happiness. If you like what you hear today, get even more by following the Joy of Connecting on LinkedIn and subscribing to our newsletter that features tips from experts on how to network and connect with more meaning. Welcome back to the Joy of Connecting, everyone. I'm your host, Melissa, and I'm here today with Meg McWilliams. She is someone that I connected with, yay for connecting, over connection technology, you guys. She is building in a space that we know is important. We're all listening to the podcast. We're all here because we believe in the power of connections. Meg does too, and I'd love for her to say hello. And I think this may lead us to where we're going to go. But my first question is usually, who are you passionate about helping these days, Meg?
I feel like that question kind of perfectly slides into what I'm building. Because what I'm building, I get to help connect so many different kinds of people. And so I think that answer changes maybe on a weekly basis, depending on who we're working with. But I think most recently, I'm super excited about helping creatives to find connections because it's just super fun to see what those connections elicit, right? Like what comes out of those connections is like very visual. Maybe I should kind of explain here what I do a little bit more so it makes sense. So I'm COO and co-founder of Gobby Goblin. As we were just talking about, it's an event networking application, and we use AI agents to actually create connections between people and intro them at events where they aren't usually able to find the person that they're looking for. So think like large conferences where there's thousands of people, you don't know who you're looking for or where they are. And it's really like you're looking for that needle in a haystack kind of situation. And you've paid thousands of dollars to be at this event sometimes to just kind of like be lonely and roam around a room not knowing what to do. The whole purpose of what we're building is to really give attendees what they're looking for. And attendees pretty much always want the number one thing they want from events is to find someone who's going to move the needle for them in business, in some kind of ROI way, or even just in friendship, right? But we really go to these events to make meaningful connections. And so many of the apps just don't actually facilitate that. So what we get to do is really fun because we are like the tools, the pick and axes around these events that make these connections happen.
And everyone listening has felt what you just talked about when you go to the event, even if you're an extrovert like me, I will admit, you still have those moments where like, I just going to stand in a corner, see what's going on. And you feel like maybe you missed the person you should have met with, or you didn't go deep enough with someone that, you kind of did that surface, small talk, which never gets anywhere.
Yeah. And it's so frustrating, right? Because it's crazy that you could be in the exact same place at the exact same time, potentially standing right next to each other, right? And you just like didn't have the conversation deeply enough, or you didn't see each other. Like it's so easy to have those misconnections, and because it's pretty much just all luck, right? It's luck of the draw if you happen to like say the right thing or ask the right thing to get that information, or because maybe someone's also just tired. Maybe they just got off their plate. They just got into the conference. It was just the wrong time and they weren't in the right headspace. So there's so much.
So you kind of came from a while back, you came sort of from the event space. What sparked this? I mean, I know you saw it in person. What sparked you to go from, there's a gap here, we could be doing this better, to I'm going to build something?
Yeah. So actually my last company, so my background is in kind of events, community building, and also in like immersive technology, gaming, and virtual reality space. So I kind of have this weird intersection of events and tech that has always been in my background. My last company was actually a gaming company. It was a gaming studio where we were focused on making meaningful connections in multiplayer games. So thinking about how we can matchmake players in more kind of like personalized, intuitive ways to their play style to hopefully have kids who are spending, thousands of hours playing games. And so for some, it's the only place where they socialize. I mean, during COVID, it was the only outlet people had for socialization at scale. So really thinking about like how can we make more friendships that are meaningful in these games? We sadly had to close down that studio about 2 years ago. And at that time, we had about 30 people on the team. It was my first company. I don't think it probably gets easier the more companies you have, but for my first company, it was just devastating to have to close it down. And really, the most devastating part was just letting go of the team and the incredible people that we had built, this tribe with. And I really just took it very seriously as like, look, everyone, this is what's going on. These are the kind of tea leaves. We're trying to turn things around. But if we don't, like, we want to be as supportive of everyone as possible. So, like, you should start looking for jobs now. The gaming industry at that time was going through a really big downturn after COVID because everyone was freed from their houses. So it was just a natural downtrend, right? But that didn't mean that it was good for the industry as a whole. So just the job market was kind of a bloodbath. And so I, as a kind of like forward-facing networking person on the team, I was like, how can I help you? Like, can we go to events? Like, let's see how you guys are trying to meet people. How are you matching with people? And so I think myself, I had experienced obviously the kind of pain of networking at these events. But when I saw a bunch of the ways and the tools that people were using that were such a bad ROI on their time and their outcome, and seeing them use all this technology that was really outdated, I was like, this just needs to be better. And how can we use the current technology and current tools to kind of scale what I was doing naturally for people and kind of organically for people? Like, how can you get enough information, enough personalization, and how can you really look at making intros at events and think of it more like how a friend makes intros for you at events, right? And why does that work well? And just kind of make it a more human experience, even though, yes, we're using AI, we can actually make it more like a companion, a friend, an assistant who's helping you to go and make those meetings valuable.
Just because I'm very curious, because we do so much of this naturally as humans.
Yeah.
What could you share maybe like one insight that you found as you've built in this way that you really figured out how to take from the real world into technology? Because I think that's a very hard gap to jump.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think for me, when I thought about the best intros that I get and how I communicate with friends, it's not usually like a lot of the event apps, right, make you download an additional event app that you need.
Right.
That's
Which
like
we're all sick of.
I load for that one event and it's not natural. And then you never check that inbox of that app, right? And then if you do, it's usually like hundreds of notifications and messages that make you just then close the app and never look at it.
And probably delete it until the next event
Yeah.
when you need to re-add it. I think we've all done that. Yes.
Yeah. So I think the biggest learning was like meet people where they are and the tools that they're already utilizing. So for example, Gobby, who's our current main AI agent that assists people in making connections. As soon as you sign up and you opt in, Gobby just sends you a text on your phone number like a friend would, being like, hey, I know you're going to GDC or whatever event you're going to. Who can I help you meet? What are you looking for? What are you currently working on right now? What are your main like KPIs or objectives you're trying to hit? What are you passionate about? So very similar to like a conversation that you have with a friend. I think mimicking that kind of dialogue, it gets much more interesting information that leads to much more meaningful connections than when you're on an app and you're pressing like, I like mobile gaming or I like, it just becomes this very like flat experience in a lot of the apps. Whereas conversations leave room for surprises or leave rooms for things in the conversation that you wouldn't imagine someone would bring up. And I think that's really key, like leaving room in conversation for those little nuggets to come up. That's like, oh, Melissa loves, going to Christmas markets and having like bong show or I don't know, whatever. And then Meg also randomly mentioned this, like all those little things that could make the connection that you might not see right away.
Yeah, that's beautifully done. And in my experience with Gobby, it worked just like that. I mean, I chose to do it through text. I think there might have been an option to phone call as well. And the texting, well, let's be honest. I'm on the older generation who does not pick up my phone ever. I don't want to, I don't want to talk to anyone.
Yeah.
And so being able to kind of text async and just have this, what felt like a conversation about what I was interested in, made it so easy then on my end from the user perspective. I loved your point about meet people where they are and kind of build the product based on what people are going to do, not what you want to force them to do.
Yeah, exactly. And I think just, making it as easy as possible, like for the texting, right? Because as you were mentioning, we have a voice component where people can call, or we have the texting. Most people opt in, almost 90% opt into texting because they can do it asynchronously, right? I can start in the morning, continue the conversation at night when I'm in between things. So it's about also just making it as little painful as possible for people to get through. And
This is product development, right? Like,
yeah, that's the main goal and hope with the product for sure.
now I've got a heavy question because I was at a company that also, your first company in the connection space, even within gaming. My previous company, Matcha, was in the connection space with making matched introductions. It's not an easy industry to build in. There's not a lot of dollars flying around. A lot of us are in it because we so deeply believe in it.
Yeah.
How are you doing in that space? How are you as a founder? I had another founder, David Kobrowski. He's also in that space. I think it's interesting to see people that are choosing to build in an area that isn't just, money's rolling in the door, let's all build products on top of each other kind of thing. How are you doing as a founder in the connection space? What have you found? What have you learned?
Yeah. So I think go to market is incredibly, it's like almost the most important thing in this space, right? Because we have seen so many connection apps that I think try to go too broad at first, right? And I think the most important thing for us was how can we solve a problem that people realize is a problem, because there's lots of problems that people don't realize, like they don't recognize them as problems, where people are already spending money and there is an ROI to be had, right? And it's like a clear ROI. And like, I'm spending $1,000 on this ticket. What is the outcome of this? So I think taking that approach and being very specific about the wedge that we enter the market with has been helpful in comparison, I think, to some of the other matchmakers that we're seeing out there. And I also think we are seeing a pretty big shift back to valuing live in-person events because we've been so virtualized, right? Like everything is digital now. You can get anything digitally. You can get music anytime. Like there's so much excess of us being on our computers and devices. And so we're also kind of seeing an uptick back towards live events and people wanting to be together. And so I think that even though, like you're saying, like there might not be this like huge hype around event technology, I think it's coming. Like I think it's going to be like another big kind of like gold rush moment around events. And if we can be the kind of like pick and access tools that are helping those events be as valuable as possible, I think it's good to like do that before the hype is coming. Because then once the hype there, it's like, it's too late, right? So always kind of like surfing the wave before it hits. It's, I think, always a really hard thing to do as a founder because like you're saying too, it's like we all know timing is everything. Like if there's anything I learned with the last company,
Pandemic too. Yeah.
Timing is off. Sometimes no matter everything you do, it's just, you can't do anything about it. So
Well said. And I do think in the connection space, there's also this, in terms of building products and building technology, there's a lot of folks who build for, as you said, the problems they don't know we have. So I might call that the nice to haves. A lot of technology out there. Sure. Yeah. Sounds great. Would love to have that. But do you need it? Because if you're building a product, you've got to build that need. So I love where you're focusing.
Yeah.
Let me go further into what you're seeing in just the event space. And because I agree, we are in a world where people are craving in person. Sometimes it's back to the big things. A lot of intimate, smaller in-person events are
Yeah.
popular. More just scoped out as someone who loves connection. What are you seeing that is kind of going well for helping people who want to get back into those in-person events? Besides using Gobby, of course, when their events better use Gobby. But outside of that, what else could people be doing to really get the most out of connection at events?
Yeah, I mean, wait, so is the question what can people on a personal level be doing, or what should organizers be doing?
Yeah, let me frame it. What should individuals who are now returning to events and showing up and trying to really build connection the right way,
Yeah.
what would you tell them as individuals who are trying to connect?
Yeah, I mean, oh yeah, using Gobby I think is helpful, but
Yeah,
also,
check that box, everybody. I like that.
I think definitely looking and seeing at the events and conferences that you're going to, are there any kind of like interactive or more playful programming that you can be a part of? Because I think some of the best connections I've seen, there's a big conference in Vegas for gaming called Dice Summit, and their first day is all interactive. So there's like a go-kart hour, there's like a mini golf hour, there's Magic the Gathering hour. So there's all these like networking game things that you can get involved with. And I always tend to see the most interesting connections kind of come out of those moments when people are doing something together that bonds them, that creates a memory together. So I think that's the way, like, I always try to look out for those if I'm trying to make more meaningful connections with people. I think also, you know, going to the speakers who are most kind of aligned with what you're building, I think can be kind of an obvious one. But then talk really not just trying to talk to the speaker, right? 'Cause I think that's what everyone thinks. They go and they're like, oh, I'm gonna wait around and like harass the speaker afterwards who has 50 people around them. I
Yeah.
actually think it's better to like go get there early and then try to talk to all the people who are also in the room sitting, because that's a filter for interest, right? If they're there, they're probably interested in that person for some specific reason. So I like to like get there a little early, talk to people in the room, because people are usually like just sitting there waiting, right? So they also have time, more or less. So I think that's another good one. Like look at the people in the room as having value, not just the people on stage.
So well said. Here's a fun question I often ask a lot of my guests. Well, a lot of times we need those great questions to start the conversation. So you sit down, you're waiting for the speaker to go on. There's two interesting people sitting next to you. Do you have a favorite question that you feel opens up discussion?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. What is a question that I ask? I think it kind of depends. I think I switch it up depending on the context and where I'm meeting someone, right?
Of
To kind
course,
of
yeah.
like riff off of the space. A question I recently asked someone at an event that it was at Dandelion Chocolate, which is here in San Francisco. It's a really amazing chocolate place. It was a chocolate tasting event that I went to,
Sounds
and the
cool.
whole space smelled of chocolate. It was amazing. And
I love
I
that.
asked the person, what's your favorite smell? Because I think this in general is a question that like elicits very random answers and memories, and like smell is such a strong sense of memory for us as humans. So it usually leads to longer, interesting kind of conversations that you wouldn't usually have. And I think that's always a good thing, is to surprise people with the topic, because then it takes them out of autopilot, right? Because if you're just like, oh,
Wait,
how
good
are
point.
you building? It's like very autopilot mode. So I think if you can try to ask something that not the 10 people before you asked, that's kind of the best path.
I think that is brilliant. And I like the point about to do that, maybe playing off of your environment. I think those are two really good tips. Ask something kind of out of the box, unexpected, because you don't get the same, what do you do? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, no, thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, as we're getting sort of close to the end, there's a couple questions I was just going to ask you. One of them is, in this world of folks who are listening to podcasts, really love to think about connection and doing it better. What's one lesson that you've learned kind of over the years about really connecting well, specifically with other humans, even if AI is in the background?
Yeah. I think the most important thing is to take the long view on connection. Not just look at as something that's transactional that you have to get something out of in this exact moment, right? It's building relationships that are going to compound in value over time. I think it's key because I think, we're all under so much pressure to either, I don't know, as a founder, you have to fundraise, you have to get clients, you have to sell. Like there's a lot of pressure for immediate outcomes that I think we can miss really valuable connections that might just be kind of a longer game. So like one of my favorite quotes is play long-term games with long-term people that maybe we've heard before. And so it's like, for me, it's less about always finding the outcome. It's about find the long-term person in the room that you feel like could be a long-term kind of like player in your game of life. And so much will reap from that, right? That you just have no idea, right? It can go in so many different directions, and it will really be, I think, a more valuable connection than when you're just looking for like, what can I just get out of this one thing at a time?
Well said. Is one of the other questions I love to ask is, who in your experience has been an inspiration for you when it comes to creating community, thinking about how we build for connection? Who is someone else that you look to?
Yeah. So the person who probably pops to mind the quickest is actually the person who introduced us. So Jenny K. Pollock, who is the leader of Women XAI, which is this incredible community here in the Bay Area. There also is a global component to it. Community spans US and Europe and everywhere. She is actually one of the first person I met when I came to San Francisco. I was organizing a women in AI panel, and I was looking for more people, executives and women who would want to come speak on it. I randomly, I don't think, maybe I saw her on LinkedIn or I found her email. I don't know what I did, but I got her email. I emailed her randomly and was like, hey, do you know any women? She was like, I'm hosting an event like tonight if you want to stop by and you can meet some people. I walked in, I knew nobody. And she right away just like grabbed my hand, walked me around, introduced me to like 10 incredible women. And she is just like the embodiment of what I hope Gobby is one day. Like she is. She's so incredibly genuine about the connections that she's making. She has such a good sense about also, I think, vibe of how different people will interact. And truly is just like always thinking of others in the most incredible way. So huge fan. And yeah, when Gobby grows up, I'm hoping she becomes Jenny.
Before I let you go back to your busy day, where can people find out more about you and, of course, about Gobby Goblin, anything you're working on?
Yeah, so you can go to gobbygoblin.com, or you can also shoot me an email. My email is meg@unproductive.ai. And we're really looking for more event organizers or conference organizers who would want to partner with Gobby. We're focusing more so in the next year on larger events, like over 1,000 people. We just recently did the Mr. Beast conference, which was in Dallas, which is a big, basically content creator summit called Bit Summit. And so we're also really trying to focus more on creative conferences and events. As I mentioned in the very beginning, in the creative space, I think there's so much opportunity that comes out of these connections that are made, whether it's from like collaborating or, finding publishers or finding funders. Like there's so many different kind of like spokes of that connection wheel. So while we definitely work with every industry, working more in kind of like the gaming and creative space is the first kind of focus that we're going after, also given our backgrounds and just connections in the space. Definitely feel free to reach out, and happy to chat with anybody.
Thank you so much for coming today. I feel like we probably owe each other another offline conversation. Just founder life in this space. Your time as a founder has been really valuable. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me, for the amazing conversation.
Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed the episode, please leave a review to help us reach more listeners. Have a story of your own to share or know someone who should be on the show? Visit www.joyofconnect.ing and let us know. Now go send a short message to someone you've been meaning to connect with. You never know where it might lead.